Today, we are diving into a super tense political standoff. It's all about trust, reputation, and, well, some really impossible choices. And it all centers on one man, David, the future king of Israel, who finds himself marching to war with his sworn enemy. So let me ask you this straight up. Imagine your country's greatest hero, the guy famous for defeating your people, suddenly shows up and joins your army. Would you trust him? I mean, would you really put your life in his hands on the battlefield? Well, that's the exact incredible situation the Philistine commanders found themselves in. They're gathering all their forces for this massive attack on Israel. They look to the back of the line, and what do they see? The one and only David, Israel's greatest champion, marching right there with them. You can just imagine the shock. So, you're probably wondering, how on earth did this even happen? Well, David was on the run from a very jealous King Saul. So he took refuge with the enemy, serving a Philistine king named Achish. And for whatever reason, Achish trusted him, like, completely. So as the army moves out, there are David and his men, right in the rear guard, marching along with their new royal protector. But, just because the king trusts someone, that doesn't mean the entire military command is on board. As the other Philistine rulers are reviewing their troops, they spot David's crew. And immediately, you can just hear the alarm bells going off. Their question, what about these Hebrews? That's not a casual question. It's an accusation, and it is loaded with suspicion. Now, the commander's reaction, it wasn't just simple paranoia. No, this was based on cold, hard military logic. They saw a massive security risk that their king, Achish, was, in their eyes, just totally ignoring. Their number one fear was simple, and it was terrifying: betrayal. I mean, can you imagine the chaos? You're in the heat of battle, everything's on the line, and the guy you thought was on your side suddenly turns on you, attacking from inside your own ranks. It's the ultimate military nightmare. And from their point of view, it was the most logical move David could make. Here he is, an outlaw from Israel, running from King Saul. What's the best way to get back in the king's good graces? How about delivering a massive victory by turning on the Philistines and, bringing their heads back as a little peace offering? It makes a twisted kind of sense. And here's the brilliant part. They use David's own fame against him. That song, the one that celebrated him as a hero in Israel, is now Exhibit A for why he's a massive threat to the Philistines. His incredible reputation wasn't a resume anymore. It was a giant red flag.
But King Achish, he saw things completely differently. While his commanders are all focused on the future risk, what could happen, Achish is focused on past performance, what has happened, and he is determined to defend his guy.
His argument is pretty much based entirely on his personal experience. He's basically saying, listen guys, this man has been with me for over a year. I've watched him, I've worked with him, and he has been nothing but loyal and reliable from the moment he got here. And this slide just lays out the dilemma perfectly, doesn't it? On one side, you have the commanders. They're looking at David's public reputation, the giant slayer, the hero of Israel, and they see a massive future risk. But on the other side, you've got Achish, looking at David's personal service, a year of flawless loyalty, and seeing a totally reliable ally. It's a classic clash, strategic risk versus personal trust. So, despite his passionate defense, Achish is outvoted. He's a king, sure, but he's part of a coalition, and he can't risk his top generals walking out right before a huge battle. So now he's forced to pull off this really delicate political move. He has to dismiss David, but without making him an enemy. And just notice how carefully he phrases this. He starts by personally vouching for David, making it crystal clear that he believes in him. Then he shifts all the blame onto the other commanders. He's basically saying, look, my hands are tied, it's not me, it's them. It's brilliant, really. And David, who is a master politician, plays his part to perfection. He pretends to be outraged, disappointed. He's asking, wait, what did I do? Why can't I go fight for you? He keeps up that cover of being a loyal servant right to the very end. Achish just doubles down. He lays on the highest praise possible, comparing David to an angel of God, to really soften the blow. But the final word is just that. It's final. The political reality is, the commanders have spoken, and that's that. And just like that, the crisis is over. David does what he's told. He turns his men around, heads back the way they came, and he narrowly avoids being put in an impossible position, leaving the Philistine army to go on to battle without him. So what does this whole masterclass in political maneuvering actually teach us? Well, this short standoff is just packed with these timeless lessons about what it means to be a leader and how much reputation really matters. A few things really stand out, right? First, it shows that your reputation is a total double-edged sword. David's fame was his greatest asset, but here it was his biggest liability. Second, you realize this was such a near miss for David. He was saved from having to make an impossible choice, fight his own people, or betray the king who gave him shelter. And finally, it's just this perfect case study in political survival, showing that constant battle between a leader's personal trust and the security of the whole group. Which leaves us with this final question to chew on. When you look at this whole thing, who was David in this moment? Was he some kind of political genius who knew this was going to happen all along? Was he a genuinely loyal servant to Achish, actually ready to fight against Israel? Or was he just a guy in an impossible spot who got incredibly lucky when his enemy's paranoia ended up saving him from himself? We don't really get a clear answer, and that just leaves you wondering,